We're live. It seems as though we are live. It is Super Bowl Sunday, February the 8th, 2026, 10 a.m. here on the East Coast. Frankie from Flatbush here. This is Coffee with Frankie. Frankie just getting over a cold. So if you're in the chat, let me know you're here so you can hear and see me okay. It's Super Bowl Sunday. We got a lot of news to talk about. Todd is here. There he is. Let me know if you can see and hear me okay. Phil is here. Phil the Jet Adams. We got a lot of news to talk about, Phil and Todd. BBA is here. I might be here, he says. Well, hope you're there, buddy. Audio and picture good. All right. We got a lot of news to talk about because it just seems like every Super Bowl Sunday there's quarterback news, and today is no exception. We got a lot to talk about. Mr. Net Warrior's here. Stocky is here. He's a member of the Inner Circle. You should really join the Inner Circle because there's so many advantages. You want a life advantage? Oh boy. Join the Inner Circle. You get all kinds of exclusive information. Things you don't get anywhere else. Click the join button down below. Stacky did it. So, yeah, you should too. Why not? But on this Saturday morning, as folks continue to gather here on Coffee with Frankie, we have some quarterback news. According to the insiders, and a lot of this quarterback news relates back to the Jets and what we're going to be able to do as far as quarterbacks are concerned this year. But right now, the insiders are reporting that Aaron Rodgers is seriously considering returning to the Steelers. Now, Mike McCarthy's back in the league. He's coaching the Steelers. And so that's Rodgers' old coach. And might want to come back and play for old fat Mike McCarthy. Steeler legend, Pittsburgh legend, Mike McCarthy. So that is important for the Jets because that means then they're probably not taking quarterback at 21 and also probably not signing anyone else that we would want to sign. For example, we would not, of course, want to sign him. So it just kind of takes another team off the board who needs a quarterback. So that is good news for us if he does. Now, the other thing that they're talking about is Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are set to work out an extension. So certainly they're going to adjust his contract because he has something like a $76 million cap hit if they do nothing. So they're not going to do nothing. They're going to extend him. So that's what the reporting is. And so any kind of thoughts about a trade or anything like that, no. Lamar is staying in Baltimore where Minter is coming. As they say, Minter is coming to Baltimore. That's Jesse Minter, the new head coach of your Baltimore Ravens. Hank G has arrived. Hello, Hank G. Joe Mike has arrived. Yeah, we're getting to that. Phil, we're getting to that one. Matthew Stafford could get a raise. Now, the other quarterback news, Dolphins and Arizona Cardinals are navigating their future with new head coaches, and both teams would like to be able to find trade partners for their starting quarterbacks. That would be Tua and Kyler. Now, how this affects the Jets is I don't think we're getting either one of those people. So I don't think, personally, I don't think they're fit for the Jets. But depending on where they go and if they're able to go somewhere could affect us sort of in a brain's not working today. In a domino fashion. Because, for example, if Tua gets traded somewhere I could see him going to Minnesota as a backup, low-cost backup. They got to eat the money. And Miami's going to have to eat a lot of money no matter what they do if they get rid of him in any kind of capacity. But let's say they do. They trade him somewhere, and he's going to be a backup. I could see him going to the Chargers as a backup, the Rams as a backup. All right. Well, they get rid of him. Now they got Ewers is the only guy they have signed. So that means basically that Malik Willis is going to Miami. If they clear out the Tua logjam there somehow and they eat the money. Now, I don't think it's a good situation for Willis, but you got the Green Bay people there, and I think that's what they'll do. So basically takes away the main reason why he wouldn't want to sign there, essentially. So that's me reading the tea leaves. No reporting on that yet, but that's how it seems to me. So if you see Tua gets traded somewhere, then you can probably guess that Malik Willis is probably going to sign there. Then you got Kyler. I don't know where a good fit for Kyler would be. Maybe Kevin O'Connell could fix him as a backup and a guy to challenge JJ. If you see Kyler get traded to Minnesota, for example, then they're not signing Kirk Cousins. And unless they get rid of J.J. McCarthy, I don't think they're signing Kirk Cousins anyway. Because I don't think Cousins wants to be a backup. I think he wants to be a starter. So we'll see about that. Boss Girl is here. JoJo is here. Hai Karate is also here. Raiders, Max Crosby may not get traded so fast because if he gets traded at all, it may have to be later on because he had a more serious injury than they initially believed, which means more rehab. But the big story that could affect us big time is Mike Garafolo reporting about 3 hours ago. He's joked about it and alluded to it, says Garafolo. Teams are serious about it, though. Derek Carr has and will continue to receive inquiries from QB-needy team clubs about a return in 2026, why he might entertain it. And then the article basically says in the right situation, for the right OC, the right team, he would come back. And so that is interesting to us for a number of reasons. One, we could sign him. Now, we'd have to trade. The Saints still own his rights, which is weird, but so we'd have to make a trade with them. It wouldn't be a significant trade. It wouldn't be like the Rodgers trade. You would think maybe a 6th-round pick in 27 or something like that gets it done. Maybe we throw in Mozzie Smith, too. Yeah, here's a bum for your roster. But it would be intriguing if he would like to play for us. If you remember, we seriously flirted with him before we signed Rodgers, and in hindsight, it would have been a better move, though it's really hard to say because of that injury in 23 to Rodgers. But considering that we could have just signed him for money and we didn't have to give up any draft picks, it probably would have been better to just go with him. But nonetheless, the marketing people at the Jets got involved and said, no, we need Rodgers here. It's going to cause like a marketing explosion, and which it did, and Jet fans got all excited about Rodgers where they wouldn't have gotten so excited about Carr. And so we made the trade, and they fleeced us on the trade, let's be honest. But we got Rodgers, and it maybe could have worked out in 23, but, the injury, and so we'll never know. But nonetheless, Derek Carr is only 34 years old. And so if you think about the free agents available right now, he goes right to the top of the list. Now, why would he want to come here? Well, the same reasons I've been pitching for all these other dudes. We now have Frank Reich, who's a respected offensive mind. I think he would like playing for Reich. Carr is also a devoted Christian, so as we build up this Christian coalition for the Jets, that also fits. He's a outspoken, devoted Christian, just like Kirk Cousins and Malik Willis and Frank Reich and Aaron Glenn. So that fits. And plus, Reich has an excellent reputation, of course, as an offensive mind. So I think you would like to play for him. And plus, we could offer him a 4-year contract. He's 34 years old. We could give him a 4-year deal 4 years, 100 million. Sounds like a lot, but of course, all that wouldn't be guaranteed. It would sound good. So he could make a lot of money with us, and we could say, look, you're the starter, Derek. We'll sign Sam Howell or somebody like that to back him up. And then we don't take any quarterbacks in the draft, except we might take a day 3 flyer on somebody, something like that. But no significant draft stock capital, and we just roll with Derek Carr. Now, we know he was interested in us enough to talk to us a few years ago. So there's that. And now we have a better situation at offensive coordinator. Plus, we have Garrett Wilson. We have a decent offensive line. We have decent tight ends. We have Adonai Mitchell. And we'll probably add another wide receiver in the draft in the first round. That's a pretty good pitch. Reich plus all that, plus a 4-year contract. How many teams are going to be able and willing to? I mean, we're almost to the point of desperation here. So a 4-year, $100 million contract. If you think it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. And especially because, maybe 60 million is guaranteed, something like that. So now, that's if he wants to come here. What if he doesn't want to come here, Frankie? Nobody wants to come here, this stupid team. Well, if he goes somewhere else, that takes that team off the board for other people. So if he goes to Minnesota, then they're not getting Cousins. If he goes to Arizona, then they're not, getting any of the people. If he goes back to the Raiders, which would be funny, but one of the things they said is, in the article, they said Clint Kubiak is his old OC, and they're widely speculated to hire Clint Kubiak as soon as the Super Bowl's over. So wouldn't it be funny if he went back to the Raiders with Kubiak, and then they, of course, would probably trade the first pick, and I would assume that we would then trade for the first pick overall and probably go for Mendoza. But either way, it's good that he is back in the free agent pool, either for us or for some other team that takes them off the board as competition to sign some of these guys. So that was unexpected good news in the news this morning. Let's see some of these comments. B-Trav, thawing out of a frozen pipe. Sorry, B-Trav. It's a little cold. It's a little nipply down here in Florida. It's 45 degrees. A little nipply. Now it's up to 54, so that's the joys of living in a nice place. Hank G. Before who gets hurt again? Derek Carr? Well, who do you want to go for, Hank? Kirk Cousins had an Achilles. Malik Willis has 6 games under his belt, starts. Well, I try to look at all of the actual pieces of information. I mean, people may not like Derek Carr, but he would be the greatest quarterback in Jets history if you just looked at his production. People forget because, I don't know, I think people are dumb. But Derek Carr has 3 seasons over 4,000 yards and 3 other seasons. Where's the Pro Football Reference so I can just pull it up? At like 3,800 or more. He's going to get injured, Frankie. They all could get injured. Everybody can get injured. I mean, obviously, we got to see that his shoulder's okay, but that presupposes that. Now, if you look at it, he had a 3,900. He had a 3,900 in his second year in the league. He had 3,987 yards and 32 touchdowns. That right there is one of the best Jet seasons of all time. Then he followed up 3,928. And then a couple of years later, 4,000, 4,800 yards, 3,500, 3,800, and then New Orleans 21-45. I mean, look, if you're looking for, if you're looking for Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert or one of these elite quarterbacks, we don't have access to them. We're in the scrap heap. We're trying to make the best of the scrap heap here. And Derek Carr would be a very reasonable quarterback. Is he going to be elite? No. But could he be average? Yeah. Do we need average? Yes. We have nothing. Some of you think we have options. We don't. Boss Girl says it's only 56 here in AZ, Arizona. I assume that means. Yeah. Well, now we're up to 58. See, it's rapidly climbing here in Florida. 58 degrees. Sorry, B-Trav. Sorry, buddy. BBA says 2 of the useless. Oh, talking about. Rover says trade for Will Levis. Well, we could trade for Will Levis, but who says the Titans want to trade him? And I wouldn't mind trading for him, but if you trade for him, then he's really a backup type. He's not going to be your starter right away. He could compete for it, depending on who your other guy you bring in, but you can't just get Will Levis. And depends on if they want to get rid of him. They may not want to. They may want a second-round pick, and it's like, fuck that. But I wouldn't mind acquiring him for a low cost. Yeah, it's slim pickings, man. I mean, the top of the free agent class goes, now that Carr's involved. I would say Carr's number 1, Cousins number 2, Malik Willis number 3, and then Marcus Mariota number 4. It gets pretty slim pretty quick. Jojo says, I would take Carr for 3 years, draft a quarterback to sit behind him. Right. Yeah, that's what we could do. And that's a nice thing. If you get a Derek Carr this year, and you say, look, one of the selling points is, look, you're going to have at least a 3-year runway here, unless you just totally suck. You're going to get 3 years of starting, so, but in 27, see, the thing I like about this is my sort of like, the idea I always have is in the first round next year with one of our 3 picks, we could pick Lenora Sellers, who needs development but has traits that nobody else has in the world. So you pick a guy like Sellers, you don't want him to come in and start right away. No. What you want him to do is sit behind a guy like Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins or whoever it is and learn, and do the Jordan Love plan for Lenora Sellers, because Lenora Sellers has traits that blow Love away or any quarterback. Lenora Sellers is just amazing, but he just needs to learn how to play quarterback better. So that way you have your future. I mean, you have your present and your future, and you don't have to squint your eyes and really try to make something out of this class in 26, which all of them have significant concerns, you could say. And then just attack it next year, and if it doesn't fall your way, all right, it's not a big, giant problem. If you used 3 first-round picks on blue-chip talent next year to build up the team and it's not a quarterback, all right, what that's also good. So that's what we got. If we can get him, he'd be great for us, Mark says. Yeah, I think so. Again, is he the perfect quarterback? No. But he's a 4-time Pro Bowler. And again, if you count his years 3,800 yards or better as roughly 4,000, he has 1, 2, 3, 4. He's like 6 of those. So, yeah, he throws a bit too many interceptions. But at the same time, we're looking for functional. And I believe he'd be functional. And here's the second thing that you're probably not thinking about. But old Frankie does. After a couple of years, Reich's not going to be here very long. I would think 2 years maybe. But here's the connection that perhaps you don't know about it. I've spoken about it maybe once or twice, so maybe you heard me say it already, but a lot of you don't pay attention to what Frankie says. That's a weird thing. But Frank Reich and John Gruden share something in common. And it's a very important something. They're both offensive minds. They've both been head coaches in the NFL. But more importantly, they share the same agent. His name is Bob Lamont. And do you remember that story by Zach Rosenblather where he did some shady reporting, let's say? Took a kernel of truth, probably, and put it in the worst possible light because that's what he does. He's an enemy of the Jet fan. And he had a lot of you still subscribe to Badlands. But nonetheless, what if that call did happen? And what if it was an exploratory call, not to join this year, but maybe thinking about the future, understanding that Frank Reich, how many years is he going to put in here? 2, 3, maybe? Well, if we had Derek Carr on a 4-year deal after a couple of years, guess who loves Derek Carr, and guess who loves John Gruden? The both of them love the both of them. They love each other. If you had Derek Carr here, John Gruden maybe would like to come here. And in 2 years, maybe his NFL lawsuit gets resolved, it's over with, and he's really itching to come back into the league, and maybe that's the way to get him here. So that would be an interesting. And you tell him, not only do you have Derek Carr, but you got Lenora Sellers in waiting. You know, John Gruden does a lot of work with these college kids coming out for his YouTube channel, which is interesting. So he's very sort of involved with the young kids coming into the league. He does his quarterback classes one-on-one with them, and then he just did another one. He just coached the Hula Bowl. I don't know if you realize that. So you got all these people at the Hula Bowl, minor prospects, but still he's involved with the kids coming into the league. He's not like out of it. He's not out of touch with what's going on. And so if you told him, okay, you get to work with Derek Carr again, okay, that sounds good, and Garrett Wilson and A.D. Mitchell and whoever we pick in the first round this year, maybe Tate, maybe one of the big three, doesn't really matter, just give me one of them. That's pretty good. And in addition, sitting behind Carr for whenever he starts to decline, we got Lenora Sellers. You want to work with him? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. How about that? I mean, if anybody could shape Lenora Sellers into an NFL quarterback, it would be Gruden. And if he could do it, he will be an elite quarterback. I mean, if that kid ever figures out how to play quarterback, look out. Look out. Because that's really the only way. I mean, think about it. We're in the division. We got Josh Allen up there. We got Drake May over there. And then Malik Willis probably going down to Miami. And if he works out, I mean, he has traits. Willis has excellent traits as well. Just can he be a quarterback on a consistent basis? We don't know. But let's say it works out. Well, and then we're sitting here. What the hell are we going to do? Well, if we have a Lenora Sellers who knows how to play quarterback, look out. Look out. So those are just some things we could possibly do, some things to look forward to. It's kind of hard to maintain optimism here it seems a little dark. Things are starting to shape up a little bit in terms of the staff and stuff like that, but I mean, Jet fans are in toxic world right now, so. Karate says, I'm rooting for Sam Darnold. Worst thing Jets can do is overperform in a likely QB-heavy class. Well, first of all, we don't know how the class is going to shape up. But second of all, don't forget we have 3 first-round picks. We can overperform and just root for the Colts to stink. It'd be great, Duncan. We win 10 games, make the playoffs with Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins or somebody. Somebody save us, please. But whoever it is, whatever happened, we make the playoffs and the Colts just fall apart. They're the worst team in the NFL, and we get the first overall pick anyway. How about that, Duncan? How about that? We need a little optimism around here. What are the teams that Covens, because he wanted to start? Well, the obvious choice is the Vikings. And so that's why I say the Vikings would have to totally give up on JJ and trade him probably. So for example, what the Vikings could do is they could trade JJ McCarthy to the Cardinals in some sort of pick swap big deal between McCarthy, and then they take on Kyler and they view Kyler Murray as a backup, and then they sign Cousins to start. And you tell Cousins, don't worry about Kyler. He's just here in case you get injured. Don't worry. And that's what they could do. But that would be them completely giving up on a guy that he was the highest drafted quarterback in the franchise history. They really loved JJ coming out. But then again, Kwesi's out of there. And we don't know. I mean, we assume that O'Connell loved JJ, but yeah, maybe he didn't. So that's the one that makes the most sense. Other than that, there's not a ton of places. Does Cousins really want to go to Arizona? There's no connection there. And plus, they have LaFleur calling plays, and he's kind of a neophyte as compared to a Frank Reich, who's more of a known quantity. They do have Maserati Marv. They do have Trey McBride. They do have Michael Wilson, who has one of those boring names, so I'll always forget about him. He needs a nickname. But anyway, but any of the quarterback needy teams, but there's not a lot. So if Rodgers decides to retire, for example, then maybe he would want to go to Pittsburgh. There's a team. But there's really not. Does he really want to go to Cleveland? No. Compete with Deshaun and the Shadorians. And then Miami. So if Miami didn't, if Miami traded Tua and then didn't sign Malik Willis, but instead pivoted to Cousins, he could go there. And then other than that, it's Pittsburgh. So there's only 5 or 6 teams that in this cycle need a quarterback. There's more teams that actually need a quarterback, but they don't think they do right now. But it's basically the Raiders who are, obviously everybody thinks they're taking Mendoza, so they're kind of off the board in a way. That could change. But so basically take the Raiders off the board. It's us, the Cardinals, Miami, and the Steelers. And then, there's other maybes where Minnesota could totally throw a monkey wrench by saying we're done with JJ, now we need a quarterback, and then therefore we're going to do this, this, and this. But other than that, there's not a lot of teams you look at and go, who really needs a quarterback right now? I mean, Cleveland's in a bad spot because they have Shador, and you have the Shadorian cult who think he's amazing, even though he had a terrible rookie season. But he did show some promise. He did do some things okay. And then they have Watson and that whole terrible contract. And to me, you might as well just go with those two and let them battle it out. And if they both don't work out, then you move on and draft a quarterback next year. But does somebody want to sign into that mix? Probably not. So, I mean, all the other teams have their quarterback, at least for now. Cam Ward is a maybe, but, the Tennessee's not moving off of Cam Ward. The Giants, Dart is a maybe, but they're not moving off of Dart right now. Washington, Jaden Daniels, they're not moving off of him. The Chiefs have Mahomes. Cincinnati has Burrow. Dallas has Dak. The Rams have Stafford. He's confirmed he's coming back. The Ravens have Lamar. We just talked about him. Tampa Bay, they have Baker. He's not going anywhere. Indianapolis is going to sign Daniel Jones, is widely reported. Detroit has Goff. Minnesota, we talked about. Carolina has Bryce Young, who's a maybe right now, but they're not moving off of him right now. Green Bay has Love. Pittsburgh, we talked about. The Chargers have, and then everybody else has their quarterback, right? If you go down this list. So there's actually not that many teams. If there were a few more, that's why this car news is really big news. Because now you have another guy to fill a spot somewhere, potentially. And if he doesn't like any of the other ones, he fills our spot very well, I think. He already flirted with us once, preferred New Orleans. Now, he is a Southern guy, so he grew up in Texas. So, for those who don't know, Louisiana is near Texas. It's on the border, the eastern border. So he was sort of near family, and I think his wife, is from Texas also. By the way, if you've never been to Texas, I'm going to tell you something about Texas. In my experience, and boss girl, just hold your ears on this one. Close your ears, boss girl. The females in Texas are the best. They're the best. They're the best in America, in my opinion. I've been everywhere, checked them all out. Texas is where they are the best. So if you're interested in that, you should check out Texas. But anyway, so his wife is from Texas, and so that's one thing. He may not want to come to New Jersey, but again, he already flirted with us, and I think, that the coaching staff was making a pitch. You remember the pitch we made him? Hey, if you sign with us, you're going to the Hall of Fame, buddy. I don't know what kind of I don't know where they were getting that, but that's what Saleh and Douglas were trying to sell him on. And I think that what they meant was if you'd put 3 or 4 more 4,000 yard seasons on your resume, it's going to be you're going to have a lot of yards. It's going to be hard to keep you out of there. So I guess that's what they meant. And at his age, and but so he was already considering the Jets. If you remember, his brother David came on TV the day of it was like decision day, and he's wearing a green tie, and everybody thought, "Oh no, Derek Carr's going to sign with the Jets. Look, David Carr's wearing a green tie." It turned out to be a head fake. But anyways, can't blame him for wanting to stay down south. Southern people generally want to stay in the South because it's better in the South. It just is. It was better in the North, 200 years ago. Now, the South is better. Joe Mike has a question. Seahawks versus NFL selling drama. Well, I don't know what the drama is, but it doesn't really matter. They'll get sold or they won't get sold, and somebody else will. I mean, what difference does it make? Nobody's moving the team. There's not. It'll be in one billionaire's hands or another. Who cares? So I'm not really following it that much. I know they might get sold. They might not get sold. Who cares? I don't think it affects us. Todd is here. Smash the like button. Yeah, smash the like button. Why not? Consider subscribing to the channel and also joining the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle people get so much inside info, so much exclusive items, so much insight from the brain of old Frankie. It's really worth $2 a month. I mean, come on. $2 a month. What are we talking about? Join up. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the man's 34 years old. Rivers came back at 44, 10 years. But yeah, obviously they got to check the medicals. That goes without saying. Now, something else about the medicals. Something else about the medicals. Yeah, oh yeah, this is total bullshit. Don't worry about it. Jojo says, "Wonder how much." Yeah, that's something I wondered too. But they can't really ask for that much. I mean, this is a guy who's not going to play for them. They got to take what they can get. There's not going to be a ton of teams that are going to want to go for him. I don't think. We'll see what the market shapes up as. That's really going to determine it. How many teams are calling them, to do a deal? If it's just us, they can't really expect too much. The guy, and plus, we could say, well, he's been out of the league. He had a shoulder injury. We don't know how he's going to respond. We don't know what we're getting. You know, so I don't think that's one thing I didn't like about the news. I forgot that they still had the rights to him, which is weird. But I don't like the idea. But I think you probably get him for a 6th-round pick in 27 or something. I mean, it can't be significant. And if they're asking for something significant, we got to move on. We can't be giving up premium draft picks for a Derek Carr, a guy who's sitting on his couch for a while. I mean, we can't. It's got to be something small. I mean, if they want Mozzie Smith, fine. Willing to throw in a slightly gently used Mozzie Smith. Uh, and a 7th-round pick in 20. We basically give them a choice. You want a 6th-round pick this year or a 5th-round pick next year, something like that. They probably go for the 5th round next year. That's good value for them. It's a guy they're not using. They're going to get either nothing. Well, it depends. If there's other teams going to offer them something, then they could try to get more. But that's what I would offer them. You can get a 6th round this year or a 5th round next year. You choose, dealer's choice, whichever one you like. And if they want to play hardball, we'll throw in Mozzie Smith. One gently used Mozzie Smith. Yeah, Texas women, they're outstanding. I mean, especially if you like the blonde variety. Now, some people, everybody has their preferences. There's the old saying, gentlemen prefer blondes. But if you enjoy a blonde variety of a lady, then they got them in plentiful supply. Joey Oliver. Spencer Rattler is Saints backup and he's wanting to leave. Well, I don't think he's wanting to leave. Where did you read that? And backups are valuable. So all these people who want to trade for backups, I think teams understand their backups are very valuable. So I don't think they really want to trade them unless you blow them away. Joe Mike, Saints still, yeah, so he has to be, yeah, that's right. This is a long question from Phil. Well, Phil, I think I saw what you're referencing. Somebody came out with a new, and I think I tried it. We don't really need that, to be honest with you. What we need is to understand. I mean, this free agency period is going to be 3 or 4 priority free agents, and everything's going to flow from that. So, what is the quarterback situation? And one of the things that I've been hanging my hat on is I don't think Frank Reich came here not knowing what we're going to do at quarterback. You know, he's got to know something and be comfortable with it, obviously. So either he knows Cousins coming here or Carr's coming here or something. I don't think he would just come here and just go, well, we'll figure it out at quarterback. Like, what? No. Why would he do that? So once we figure that out, then it's going to be, let's say it's Cousins, just for argument's sake. Then there's going to be 3 or 4 priority free agents. It's going to be Anzalone. Hopefully we're able to get him. That's going to be one of our priorities. Next priority is going to be wide receiver, probably. I would put my money on Dobbs or Wan'Dale Robinson if the Giants don't re-sign him. So we'll get one of those two. So now you get the quarterback, Anzalone, and Dobbs, let's say. Well, that's going to be it as far as priority free agents. We'll sign a bunch of other guys to fill the roster out. But that's it. That's all you need to know. Once you know that, then you can know what you're doing in the draft. So here's the other piece of it. Let's say we're not able to get Cousins or Carr or Willis. Oh boy, what do we do then? Well, then we're getting Marcus Mariota. And if you get Marcus Mariota, then you're in the quarterback market again for the draft this year. And it's going to be as long as the medicals check out, and this is an important piece of the puzzle. If the medicals check out as good and he doesn't have any long-term issues, which he might, and that'll knock him off the board. But if his medicals check out and the injuries he had last year are not going to be long-term, according to the doctors and so forth, then Ty Simpson becomes a real possibility, and it becomes, I'm going to tell you something right now that you're not going to like, but it is the reality. If we sign Marcus Mariota, that's who we fall back to. That's the fallback plan. That's plan D. You know, we want these other guys, but they all go somewhere else. And, you know, so we get Mariota. Well, then guess what? We're taking Ty Simpson at pick 2. I hate to tell you this. As long as the medicals work out. Because you cannot risk, if his medicals check out, then everybody in the league knows his medicals check out. And then they're going to look at the first half of the year last year when he looked like a top 5 pick. And they're going to throw out the second half of the year when he looked like dog doo-doo because they're going to say, well, he had a serious back injury. And if the medical people say, yeah, he had a back injury, but now it's healed, he's not going to have any problems. As long as that's the case, there's going to be a lot of teams interested in Ty Simpson, including Miami, maybe the Rams as an heir apparent to Stafford for going forward. So you can't count on him even getting to 16. You could see, well, no. You could see maybe even the Bucks. Problem with the Bucks is that Baker has 1 year left on his deal, 26. So are they going to extend him or not? I would think they would, but you never know. So you can't even count on him getting to 6. I mean, because Arizona might take him at 3, depending on what they do. Cleveland could take him at 6. That'd be weird, but then they could trade Dylan Gabriel back to Stefanski, maybe something like that. Miami could take him, so you can't count on him even getting to 16. So if that's the case, then you got to take him at 2, as long as you're comfortable with the medicals. And then you go with Mariota, Simpson, and maybe you take a round 5 flyer on Drew Aller. And that's what you go with. Because that would be the fallback plan. But I don't think that Frank Reich signed here with the idea that Marcus Mariota was going to be his quarterback. But if that's how it works out, and he would be option 4 out of the top guys in free agency, then that's not great, but I think that's what's going to happen then. And you just got to pray that Ty Simpson is the guy he showed you he was in the first half of the year last year. And there's going to be lots of hand wringing and teeth gnashing. Oh no, the Jets reached at 2 again for a quarterback. And yeah, that'll suck, but you got to do it. Because I just can't see. I mean, number one, you could fall in love with the tape you see from the first half of the year last year. Number two, you could fall out of love with the second half of the year. But if you say that was because of his back and he had other injuries as well, then you say, well, that's the guy he is. Well, yeah, but that's only a handful of games. I mean, so it's risky, but I just don't see what else we could do. If you got Mariota, the fans are not going to be happy with the Marcus Mariota signing. I can tell you that right now. Even though I'm higher on Mariota than most, I also understand the fan base is not going to be excited about Marcus frickin' Mariota. They're just not. So then you got to give them some kind of hope at the quarterback position. And then you go, all right, well, Simpson's the second best one. All right, if the medicals check out, as I've said 1,000 times. Well, okay, well, we'll wait to 16. Well, Arizona could take him. Browns could take him. Miami could very easily take him. The Rams could take him. He's a good fit there. Be an apprentice. So you might not even get to 16. So you can't wait. So if you can't wait, you got to take him at 2. I don't know. That's the logic there. Is it a reach? Yeah. But would we need to do it? Probably. Would it be a good situation? Well, if he works out, it's a good situation. So that's what we're looking at here. One of the reasons I think Derek Carr makes a lot of sense for us. Then you don't have to do all of that nonsense. Hoping and praying and medicals and all this. Joe Mike, best trade Jets ever did for quarterback was Ryan Fitzpatrick for a late round conditional draft pick. Yeah, I mean, he had one good year for us, and then he wanted more money, and then he had a bad year for us. Fitzmagic turned into Fitztragic. And sometimes that happens. I mean, that's what we'd be hoping for with Carr. I mean, not the tragic part, but, just hoping for some veteran goodness. So, vet who has a good year, 2 or 3. Yeah, that turned out good. Touched on the Phillips comments. Just want to say, as one of the few who didn't want Glenn fired, he explained what we were trying to tell the majority of toxic fans. Yeah, he did. Exactly right, boss girl. And it's a bigger job than probably even Glenn realized, if you think about it. And so I do think Frank Reich helps with that. I do think a guy like Cousins helps with that. These are sort of like over-the-top positive people, to the point where some people think they're corny. But if you're going to go over the top one way or another, go for corny and super positive, And Cousins has a track record that, people, if we had him, people would get behind and say, all right, here's a veteran. He knows how to, he knows what he's doing. He can lead the offense. Let's go. So Mike says, I would trade 2 late-round picks for Jacoby Brissett. Okay. Why would the Cardinals want 2 late-round picks for Jacoby Brissett? Why do Jet fans never think about it from the other side, Joe? That's what I would ask you. Jacoby Brissett, keep going. I got to keep saying the same things over and over. You people don't listen. It's probably part of Jacoby Brissett is an extremely valuable asset. He's a low cost quarterback who can start for you or back up. He's beloved in the locker room and is a great mentor, is just a great guy. Everybody loves him and is a wonderful asset for your team. Why would they trade him for anything? That's a valuable thing in the NFL. This idea that teams just want to get rid of their backups. No. I think teams are starting to understand the starter gets hurt all the time. This applies to Mac Jones as well. The starters get hurt, whoever it is. They get concussed. They get injured. You need a strong backup. That whole Parcells quote about two quarterbacks, you don't have any, that doesn't apply to the NFL anymore. You kind of need two and sometimes three to get through a good season because these guys get concussed, they get injured, there's artificial turf all over the place, and there's no steroids anymore. So you need two quarterbacks. So Jacoby Brissett is an amazing asset at the price they have him at. So why would they trade him to us or anyone else? So yeah, you would want to do that, but they wouldn't. Everybody would do that. I mean, I want to go on a date with Sydney Sweeney, but she's not going to let me, Joe. You know what I'm saying? I'm hopeful to. I love when they come out with these things. Team is hopeful this or that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm going to go on a date with Sydney Sweeney. It's not going to happen, Joe. Rumors of Miami grabbing. So yeah, this is what I'm saying. He's flying up draft boards because teams are. It all depends on how you view him. He's one of these Rorschach things. Because if you watch him the first half of the year, he looks like a top 5 pick. If you watch him the second half of the year, he looks like dog shit. So what the fuck? What kind of evaluation can you have? And he only played 1 year, so that's also not good. But there's also nobody else like him who played as well as he did in the first half of the year against really good competition with a team that really wasn't that great, especially considering Alabama's standards, normal standards. Didn't have a running game. His wide receivers weren't as good as advertised. His offensive line was not good either. Their defense was okay. So it's really hard to understand. I mean, I just had somebody on my feeds going, I don't understand why Ty Simpson is going to be a first round pick, and then he listed all the problems, and it's like, yeah, the problems all come in after the Oklahoma game, which is where he got injured. He had a very serious back injury. So uh, and he might flame out. He might not be good. He might be a bust. I don't. I mean, the kid's played 15 games in college. 15, 1-5. That's not great. So, man. So anybody who tells you I don't understand why he's a first round pick, you can understand their position. Somebody who tells you he should be the second overall pick, you can also understand their position. Hey, this is what we got. And trust me, I scouted 10 of his games. There's nobody I scouted more than Ty freaking Simpson. Because in the beginning of the year, when I started looking at him, I was like, "Holy shit, this is the Jets pick right here." So I paid very close attention to Ty goddamn Simpson, and it was very strange the way the season ended. But if you want to say he was injured, then I mean, what the hell do you make of that? It's very tough. And so, but we have a history, and teams go crazy for these quarterbacks. I mean, Arizona could take him at 3. Cleveland could take him at 6 and trade Dylan Gabriel and just have a miasma of quarterbacks like they had last year. Miami at 11. The Rams make sense at 13. So I mean, you could say take him at 16, but no guarantee getting to 16 because these teams go crazy for these quarterbacks. We've seen it happen every single year. Joey Oliver. Well, Russell Wilson is a backup at this point. I wouldn't mind, like, if we went and got Cousins, I wouldn't mind having Russell Wilson as a backup. He's one of these guys who's corny positive, but shit, we need that. We got the mope going on, as I said in one of my videos. So, and credit where credit's due, the Badlands people came up with that, I think. So that was something good they did. But that's true, and we heard it from Harrison Phillips and all this. So maybe we need some just unbelievably positive people in the building to the point that they're corny. All right, well, that's Kirk Cousins, and then Russell Wilson's also that way. But that wouldn't be bad. I mean, Russell Wilson's not bad for a backup because you can get him for $4 or $5 million, and so he's fine as a backup. He never gets injured. He got injured, I think, once in his life when he hit his hand on the guy's helmet. Other than that, been very durable, unendingly positive, and he can lead an offense to do okay. I mean, as a backup, he's probably fine. But I think his days of starting are behind him. I'd be shocked if you're not. If the regime don't want Simpson, then could he be a trade-up bait for other teams? Yeah, he could. If his medical's clear, because so the combine is going to be huge. That's where all the medicals get done and passed around and so forth and so on. So if all the teams come to the realization sort of simultaneously, they're all on the same page where, okay, Simpson, it was just a bunch of unfortunate things that happened to him last year, but he gritted it out. He's super tough. But also these things are not going to be long-term, and backs are tricky, so there's no guarantee that's the case. But if that's the case and they all say, yeah, that was just unfortunate and no problems long-term, then yeah, it might be. Then he might. I mean, shoot. We might want to trade back with the Cardinals. We might want to trade back. I mean, we might want to trade back with the Finns. But if the Finns sign, if the Dolphins sign Malik Willis, they're not also going to trade up for, Simpson. They're not going to do that. But the Cardinals, if they strike out with all these free agents and they're stuck, they got Brissett there. Let's say they trade, Kyler, he's out of there. All right, they got Brissett. They can start him, but they want to make sure and get Simpson. So we go to them. Well, we're thinking about trading this pick, or taking Simpson. So we trade with them just to move back one spot. Yeah, maybe. We don't know. The combine's gonna be huge because that's when we're gonna start hearing the rumors of who likes who and who cleared their medical and who's fine and who's not fine and etc. The Rams. I mean, it's interesting. I doubt the Rams would want to do that. But like Arizona could get desperate. I mean, you could go with Jake Brisket for a year. I mean, he could. That's the part of the value, as I said before. He's a perfectly fine bridge. It's one of the reasons they're not going to trade him, in my opinion. If you need to, and you got him there. It's part of his value. But you also, even if you do that, you do want to have a young fella that you're bringing along. And maybe they fall in love with Simpson. It also depends on who falls in love with who. Not everybody falls in love with the same dudes. Sean Payton fell in love with Bo Nix. A lot of the teams did not fall in love with Bo Nix. So, it just depends on who really, really wants somebody. The Giants, for example, really, really, really wanted Cam Ward. They offered the moon and the stars and the heavens above to the Titans, and the Titans would not move because the Titans were in love with Cam Ward also. So that's two teams that were in love, love, love with Cam Ward. And they also really liked, obviously the Giants also really liked Jackson Dart too, but so it just depends. T-Time says, Mariota better than Fields. Yeah, I would think so. Now, I like Mariota personally, so I think he would do well here. But I'm just saying from the fan perception side, general perception, I think Mariota has a couple of problems. Mariota's problems are basically, one, he's very quiet, so teams don't love him as the face of the franchise because he's not, he's kind of shy and quiet. And then number two, he fumbles a lot. That's not good. And then number three, he gets injured a lot. So, but when he does play, he plays better than people think he does. I mean, he's better than people think. So I wouldn't mind Mariota here personally, but if you do that, you got to then probably take Simpson at 2 to combine it, I think. And saying that he's going to play better than Fields is not a high bar, T-Time. So let's be clear about that. Joe Mike, I would not draft a QB with our top 40, 4 picks. Not a great allocation. I would prefer a late round flyer, Nussmeier, Altmaier, Strand. Well, then you want to just keep losing, Joe. Those guys all suck. What are you even talking about? We're talking about a different quality of player here, dude. Nussmeier's not an NFL player. Aller's a total flyer because he does have a strong arm and he's tall. Can he play quarterback? Well, he hasn't shown that he can, but that's a flyer. These are different situations. Altmaier probably not making the league, and Strand, I don't even know who he is. So what the fuck are you talking about? You can't just take a bum and say he's going to be our starter. If you take one of these dudes, they're QB3 and they sit around and you hope they can do something. Crazy. I'm talking about, the other thing maybe we haven't talked about enough. Glenn and Moochie are fighting for their fucking jobs. They can't just sit around and hope Drew Aller fucking figures out how to play quarterback in 2 years. No, they can't do that. Now, if you want Drew Aller to be quarterback 3, no problem. And in fact, I would probably do that. Like if we took Simpson at 2 overall, I'd probably take Aller in the 5th round just because he can throw the ball real hard and real far. He can. And he's a coachable kid, and he's 6'5" or something. So good size, can throw a ball real far. Sit him as QB3 and let him just let him sit there. And he's a coachable kid. He's a nice kid, and he's real coachable. So you just sit him at QB3 and you say, all right, maybe down the line he could figure this shit out because he didn't show that he figured it out at Penn State. And then again, you could argue about Penn State and what they had or didn't have there. But that's the sort of thing where a guy has something. Like Nussmeier has nothing. Nussmeier's 6 feet tall, has tiny hands, has no athleticism, and has a noodle arm. What are we talking about? But Aller, on the other hand, at least he has something. He has size, and he has an arm. He has a rocket arm. So, and he also has a quick release as well. So I guess he has a few things. So you could say, all right, let's take a flyer on Aller, but not to be a starter or count on him for anything. You just sit him down at QB3, and maybe he becomes something, but probably he doesn't. So there's different, you got to understand the value in different spots. It could turn out that, which doesn't mean that Aller can't be better than, let's say we took Simpson and Aller in the same draft. Aller could turn out to be better than Simpson. You never know because football is weird. And you got to make decisions without all the information, and you just don't know. Aller could figure it out one day. Shit, Zach Wilson could figure it out one day and turn into the next, Sam Darnold. But that's football. You never know. But, yeah, I agree, T-Time. Is Sydney from Texas? I don't know where. I think she's from California. California women are also good, too. Who, in your opinion, is the best quarterback coach? I don't think quarterback coaches really matter much. Look at Josh McCown. Everybody would tell you Josh McCown's the best quarterback coach. How'd he help J.J. McCarthy? How'd he help Sam Darnold, for God's sakes? He was on our fucking team in 2018. But everybody wants to tell you Josh McCown's a great quarterback coach, oh yeah? How did he help Sam Darnold in 2018? By the way, I'm going back and watching the 2018 season. Sam Darnold was dog shit. Now, dog shit with some... He made some really nice plays that made you go, whoa, he could do stuff. But for the most part, it was just terrible throws, interceptions, bad. Fumbles, ugh. But we had Josh McCown there. Well, how did he do coaching him up? Then he becomes a quarterback coach at Minnesota. Everybody says, oh, man, this is amazing. Him and KOC, they're going to coach him up. How'd they coach J.J. McCarthy up? Barely better than Zach Wilson rookie season. Or first season, I guess. How'd that work out? So the quarterback coach is not important. It's important to have a good person in there who knows how to run the film and shit. But what's important is the play caller. The play caller and then the quarterback. The development of the quarterback is mostly on the quarterback themselves. I have an age 27 theory. You've heard it. Guess when Sam Darnold turned good? Age 27. And a lot of these dudes, they either get good or better age 27 and move and further on. It's just them, their brain developing, getting used to the game. The NFL is very difficult. It's very fast, and it's very difficult. And so QB development is really about the play caller understanding the skill set of the guy he has right now, not what he's going to be in 2 years, 4 years. What is he right now? So it's about player evaluation. This is why Frank Reich hire was so important. And then how do I call and sequence plays that are going to maximize that player's skill set in our offense with the tools and things that we have, not that we don't have. In other words, do we have a great offensive line? Okay, cool. We're gonna run the hell out of the ball. And then when they start stacking the box, then we're gonna throw the ball and we're gonna do a lot of play action. Great. Do we not have a great offensive line? All right, we've got to rely on quick game, screens, other things to make up for that. That's how you develop quarterbacks. Is you ramp them up if they're not a superstar right off the bat, which very few are. You got to ramp them up. Even Tom Brady ramped up. Joe Flacco ramped up. The best coaches know how to ramp up a quarterback based on what they can do now and major in those things, get their confidence going, get them rolling, and ramp them up. The quarterback coach doesn't sprinkle magic dust on them in the quarterback room. And B Trav, quarterbacks in this draft will start moving into early rounds. Chambliss, Nuss probably gone by end of round 3. Well, if Nuss goes anywhere in the top, if Nuss gets drafted in the top 3, that's insane. Chambliss is not a first round quarterback either. Chambliss, you're taking a major gamble on. He has good traits, but he's very small. He's been inconsistent accuracy-wise, but he does have a big arm, but he's tiny. I think he's going to measure in at 6 feet tall. So, I mean, he might, but I don't see why that would be the case. Who wants him? I just ran through the teams that need a quarterback. Who wants these people? The end of the first round is all the successful teams. They all have quarterbacks. If you're successful, you have a quarterback. So why are they going to waste a draft pick on a quarterback? The teams that need a quarterback are Vegas, the Jets, Cardinals, the top 3. Cleveland, maybe, although they have 3 already, and I think they're just going to stick with what they got, personally, but they could. That's a maybe. Miami, and then the Steelers, and that's it. So the Steelers could say, we don't like this class, we're signing Rodgers, or we're signing Cousins, or those would probably be the 2. And maybe Cousins prefers the Steelers because he likes McCarthy. I don't know. Well, then they're out. So there's not that many. There's a lot of teams that have a need that they don't think they have a need, but Denver's not going to take a quarterback. The Rams, they'll take a backup, but they're not going to waste a high pick on it. They might take Chambliss. If Chambliss is sitting there in round 4, the Rams might take him and say, all right, developmental, good, happy. Something like that. But I don't really see these teams in the back of the first round doing that. It doesn't make any sense. And the teams at the top are going to take who they want. Vegas is going to take Mendoza, then they're done at quarterback. The Jets, let's say we take Simpson, we're done at quarterback. Arizona, well, be interesting to see what they do. But if that happened, then Arizona gets the best defensive player in the draft, according to what they think. Ricky Moore, what about Tanner McKee? He's under contract with the Philadelphia Eagles and has played 2 games in his career. Cousins, Zippy, and Allard to tide us over for 1 season. Well, Cousins, if we sign Cousins, I think it's going to be more than 1 season. I think we give him 2 in terms of the contract. Oh, well, this is interesting. I didn't know that either. So what's interesting about my age 27 theory, I don't know much about basketball because I find it very boring, but the reason it's the age 27 theory is the average male brain isn't done developing until age 26, which applies obviously to quarterbacking. It's very important. So it's not to say that all of them follow the same pattern, but it's kind of interesting that the average male brain doesn't finish developing until age 26. And then a lot of times these guys either get better or get good at age 27 as a quarterback. But then you think about basketball, it makes kind of makes sense. Their brain's developed, and now they can take their game to the next level. So maybe it applies to all sports. I don't know. Maybe this theory needs more scientific study. What if I stumbled upon the greatest scientific discovery in the history of mankind in terms of sports production? Is that possible? Did Frankie stumble on the greatest discovery in sports athlete development in the history of mankind, the age 27 theory? Dum, dum, dum. Perhaps I did. And no one will give me any credit. What if I did? And you know what? What's interesting is, excuse me, I put out a video where I cut a clip about, because I talked about it on either Coffee with Frankie or one of the news shows. And I put it out as a separate video, and it got like 70 views, 70. The most important discovery in sports performance history, 70 views. 70 views. Oh boy, oh boy. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Joey Oliver. I can't see Carr ramping up. Carr? Well, Carr's not a rookie. Unless you're talking about CJ Carr. He's next year or the year after. Joe Mike, sign a veteran, take a late round flyer, and draft your quarterback in 27. However, I agree that Glenn Muggi on borrowed time might not be able to. Yeah, that's the problem. I think they need a solution right now, at least to show improvement this year. So I think it's going to be a combo. And that's why I think there's a little more urgency. They can't just kick the can down the road and say, we're signing Marcus Mariota and Sam Howell and that's it, and don't draft somebody. Like, I just don't see that. That can't be the case. Then Sellers arrives. Yeah, it'd be a good plan if it worked out that way. I mean, you could work at either Cousins or Carr, and you give Carr a 4-year deal where, a lot of the guaranteed money are in the first 2 years. Then if he's playing well, you just keep going. Sellers might need 2, 3, 4 years. Who knows? That's why I say he's on the Jordan Love plan, because Love waited 3 years. You could call it the Aaron Rodgers plan. He did the same thing. For whenever he's ready. You don't put any timeline on it. You just say, look, we're going to try to develop you. Here's how we're going to do it. And you implement your plan, but you don't, when he's ready, he's ready. Now, the thing about drafting Lenore Sellers, too, which is awesome, is you could put him on the scout squad, and he could play any quarterback. He could play the role of any opposing quarterback. Like, okay, pretend you're Josh Allen. Well, if your third quarterback's Brady Cook, he can't be Josh Allen. But Lenore Sellers can. Lenore Sellers can play the role of Josh Allen quite well. For example, or Drake May, or any of these other superstars, Justin Herbert. At least in a practice squad, sort of like scout team setting, he can definitely do that. So that's a benefit right there. Even if he never gets in a game, you get some scouting looks that you couldn't get otherwise. So there is that. South Dakota Jets. Preach, Frankie. Well, we try to preach here on the Coffee with Frankie show. We also had some staff signings. So in the news yesterday, we found out that we're hiring Rex Ryan's son. Did you know that? We're hiring Seth Ryan. Now I'm trying to find it. It'll be in the Jets feed here. Seth Ryan. as passing game coordinator. And now the only position left to be hired is the quarterback coach. Hopefully we can get Chad Pennington. That'd be nice. Nice little tie-in. But we'll see what Reich wants to do there. I'm sure he has some people in mind. Now, the other thing we learned, now, Seth Ryan comes from the Detroit Lions, and our offensive line coach is Steve Hyden, also from the Detroit Lions. And we learned that Frank Reich is kind of enamored with the Ben Johnson Lions offense. So he goes and gets Seth Ryan, who could be one of Ben Johnson's proteges. We let, unfortunately, Tanner Engstrand go, another one of his proteges, and there was a lot of back and forth about that, but eventually let him go. But nonetheless, if we really want to run the Detroit Lions offense under the Detroit Lions Ben Johnson offense, then you would think we need to get our Jared Goff, and our Jared Goff could be Carr or Cousins. Both work there. So Seth Ryan is the son of Rex, and all of the beat reporters are talking about the Ryan Jets ties running deep. Rex was a ball boy in 1968 when his dad, Buddy, was the D-line coach on the Super Bowl III team. And now Seth, who spent time as a kid around Jets training camp when Rex was the HC, is a coach on the staff. So this Ryan Jets, maybe that's the way we got to go to break this curse. Now, Seth Ryan's 31 years old, third generation son of Rex Ryan, legendary. Seth comes from the Lions. He was the assistant tight ends coach. Prior to that, was assistant wide receiver coach. Now, he's a young fella, 31 years old. So here's a combination of youth with the age and experience of old Frank Reich. So we had some youth. We raid the Lions cupboard, so to speak. And so that all seems very good. And hopefully we try to run the Ben Johnson Lions offense. That would be amazing. Well, now we just need the quarterback. Cousins, Carr fit the bill perfectly. But we also hired a new tight ends coach, Freddie Bobs. Alfredo Roberts is coming as the tight ends coach. He's coming from Mike Tomlin's staff with the Steelers, which makes the second signing or hiring of a Steelers coach. So getting some of that Mike Tomlin voodoo or culture in our building is also good. Freddie Bobs comes over. And we also, of course, have Carl Dunbar on the defensive side. Well, apparently one of the best defensive line coaches in the league, according to many people. And he used to be a defensive line coach under Rex Ryan. Now he comes back, and that has led to speculation that we're actually turning into a 3-4, and that will be something to follow, because if we are, then that informs what type of players we'll sign and draft in this upcoming draft. But no confirmation of that. I'm sure when they ask Glenn at the Combine, he'll say, we're going to want to be multiple. That's what they all say. So that's where we are. No late breaking news. I guess all the insiders broke their quarterback news. Why is it that there's always quarterback news on the Super Bowl Sunday? You ever ask yourself that? Why is it that all these insiders have quarterback news on Super Bowl Sunday? They break it on Super Bowl Sunday. Why do they do that? Every year, it seems like. Insiders are saying changes to replay assist are coming. Dolphins likely to move on from Tua. Plus latest on Tyreek. I could see Tyreek Hill going to the Chargers. Imagine Tyreek Hill on the Chargers. You've heard me say the Chargers are going to the Super Bowl. Well, what if they added Tyreek Hill? Remember, Mike Mendoza's the OC there. Tyreek Hill, go back to California, or go to California, and then hook up with Justin Herbert and make a Super Bowl run. That seems like a situation that he would prefer there. And then where does that leave Miami? And then Miami has Jalen Waddle and Devin Achane and a bunch of nothing. They don't have a tight end to speak of. They just signed Zach Kuntz for, That's how bad off they are. But so Malik Willis really want to go down there with nothing and a huge cap hit for Tua. No matter what they do with him, it's a huge cap hit this year and next year. Spread it out, doesn't matter. It's still going to be a big cap hit and constrain them somewhat. Meaning and probably Tyreek Hill probably doesn't want to come back. They probably got to cut him and try to. Otherwise, that's another cap hit. So I don't know. Trevor Sikkema is saying the Vikings. He's putting out the Vikings for Derek Carr. So if Derek Carr, Trevor Sikkema is sort of like an insider who knows about these things. So if Carr goes to the Vikings, well, that leaves Cousins for us, perhaps. So that's the beauty of Carr coming back into this pool. So there's that. I think Tyreek Hill to the Chargers makes a lot of sense. But it's weird how these insiders always break this quarterback news right on Super Bowl Sunday. It's kind of weird. Joe Mike, Phil, was it more his pride taking it that made Tanny leave rather than Jets actually firing? Tanny? Who's Tanny? Tanner Enstrom? No, they fired him. Do we draft a replacement or give him another year? Well, Karate, I'd like to sign him, but PFF is projecting a $17 million a year, 4-year contract for him. So if that's what he's going to get on the market, we got to let him go and sign Simpson back. He's not going to take. It seems like from that projection anyway that he's not going to take a 1-year prove it deal. If he can get that deal, good luck to you. By the way, Chargers make a lot of sense for him too. You know, they have problems on the O line, and maybe they're scared away by the injury history, but they would like to get somebody that talented. I mean, you got to think that the Chargers are going to maximize this year, right? Because they got McDaniel, but he's probably not going to stay there long. I mean, if I were him, I would just settle in as an OC with Justin Herbert and just live my life in California and be happy. But I think he's probably going to go for a head coaching job next year. So that means that they would then have to maximize the year that they have with him. And so they might want to overspend on the O-line, which was their problem last year. And they need a running back and other things. But, get Tyreek Hill, get AVT, just have a go for it year, 3-4 defense is a good defense. Well, 3-4, 4-3, they can both work. It just depends on what kind of players you have. We have this Mozzie Smith on the roster. Could he play nose in the 3-4? I'm sure he could play it. The question is, can he play it well? He hasn't shown he can play anything well so far. If Breezy wants out, could Jets have a chance with? Yeah, they just have to pay the most money. They have a chance with anybody. They just have to pay more. Over the cap has Dolphins in. Yeah, but that's for right now. They'll get out of it. Boss girl could be Carr's agent trying to generate buzz for his client, saying Minnesota interested. Yeah, it could be. But Trevor Sikkema's just saying that on his own. I can tell who's being manipulated by the agent, and I know how some of these people operate. Trevor Sikkema, the way he said it was just like he was basically intimating that's a good fit. And it is. I mean, Minnesota's a good fit for just about any quarterback. I mean, that's why it's going to be interesting to see what they do because they could trade for Kyler Murray as a backup. They could trade for Tua as a backup. When you have Kevin O'Connell and a good play caller like that, you can take on other people's garbage and turn them into at least a decent backup. You wouldn't want those guys starting, but probably at this point in their career. But as a backup, oh, okay, I can make it work with this guy. He may be limited, but as a backup, you don't mind a limited. quarterback, as long as they can do something. That's what backups do. That's why they're backups. Uh, so Minnesota is a key domino in all this. And what they decide. I mean, are they giving up on JJ? Do they want maybe they sign a Mariota to be a backup to push him, but it's really JJ. Like if they signed Mariota, for example, then you would know they're not giving up on JJ. They're just pushing JJ a little bit, but they anticipate JJ being the starter. Whereas if they go with the Cousins or Carr, then they got to trade JJ, I would think. Because you're basically giving up on him. Yeah, so I guess all the news is out now. I guess they're not going to be dropping any other big quarterback news. So that's good. Keep it simple, RC. What kind of trade package would we put together for Tanner McKee? Well, Tanner McKee's played 2 games in his life, so I'm not sure why we would do that. I mean, for what role? Backup? Also, the Eagles have a lot of problems. So this dude is tall. Oh, so it's a tall white guy, so that's why people like him. Tall white guy. Up, tall white guy. Tall white guy. Tall white guy. Get him. Get the tall white guy. He started 2 games in his career. So I'm not sure Tanner McKee makes sense. Also, if Philadelphia likes him, Philadelphia is having problems with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and their whole staff. I don't know what they're going to do. Not sure what there really is to like about Tanner McKee, other than he's a tall white guy, if that's what you like about him. But he basically has started 2 games, played in 6. I don't know what you can make out of Tanner McKee. I don't know. It's a total dart throw. I probably wouldn't go the McKee route. South Dakota Jets giving a donation. We appreciate that, South Dakota Jets. Defense, free agent expectations. Number 1, priority free agent, Alex Anzalone. We'll do more free agent videos coming up as we learn more information. But number 1, we got to have him, priority free agent, probably other than the quarterback and what we decide there. Excuse me. So quarterback number 1, whatever the decision is, Cousins, Carr, whatever we decide. Then we get that situated. Then we go after Alex Anzalone. Got to have him. Got to have him. We cannot lose out on Alex Anzalone. And then third priority free agent is going to be Dobbs or Robinson, Wan'Dale Robinson, I would say. We go hard after those guys. Hopefully we can land all 3. Other than that, on the defense, I would like to sign a safety. I would like a Nick Cross type. I would like to sign Malcolm Rodriguez, another linebacker who would be a backup from the Lions. I would also like to sign a couple of defensive tackles, Levi Onwuzurike, Marcus Davenport. Just look at the Detroit Lions free agents. Let's sign a bunch of them. Bring them in here. Glenn's going to call the D. He needs a bunch of his people. Let's go. Whether it's Davenport, there's edge players, there's defensive tackles available that played for the Lions. Let's just grab them up. So I would say, but the priority one, the one we need to have, and if we don't get him, be like a gut punch, will be Anzalone. I would like to sign Nick Cross from the Colts. I would like to get some edge players and defensive tackles from the Lions. I would like to raid the Lions, basically. And then that situates us well. And a lot of those guys we would sign would be backups. But that's fine. You need depth like that. It's absolutely necessary. So it's not a ton of money. The priority, the ones we're spending money on are quarterback, Anzalone, and I would say wide receiver. And the reason wide receiver is because there's a big 3 in this draft. But at 16, there's no guarantee you could get them both. Now, if there's no guarantee you can get one of the big three. Now, if you love one of the big three super much, you could get them at 2, of course. So depending, I guess, on how successful we are in the free agent period, we might have a glaring need for a Reese or Bain or that type, or we might not. Maybe we're super successful in free agency, we bring in a lot of high-end talent. Then we don't have as big a need. Then maybe we just, whichever one of the big three we like the best, take them at 2 because we already got the quarterback, let's say. I mean, this is pipe dream, but still. And so that's it. Those are the guys we need. Those are the guys we need. We need a lot of other guys, but they're, lower level and backup types. JoJo, what is all this hype with Tanner McKee? Well, it's one person who's bringing him up, JoJo, so I don't think there's a lot of hype. Jets get number 2 pick in years is no good. Quarterback available. What bad luck. Yeah, that's life. That's life. Remember that song by Frank? Mr. Sinatra? That's life. Remember that? It's not what cards you're dealt, my friend. It's what do you do with the hand you're dealt. Good to see Glenn hiring Detroit coach. You working now. Moody needs to sign some Denver free agents. Yeah. So here's Joe Mike. Now I just confirmed something, Joe Mike. I knew it. Boy, my instincts are so good. So good. I saw Joe Mike make this comment on X. And so my theory with Joe Mike, with the way he asks questions, I was like, I think Joe Mike copy and pastes his questions and comments and just pastes them in everywhere. X, other people's, chat. he just has the same things. He just says that over and over and over again. Bang! Frankie intuition confirmed. Boom. Boy, I'm good. I should really work for the CIA, I should be one of those CIA spies that just, you never know where they're at. The people who, you couldn't pick them out of a room. They don't dress flamboyantly. They kind of just blend in. But then they know everything that's going on. Everything. And I got the intuition going on. Yeah, there's lots of free agents we can get. JFM would be nice. PJ Locke would be great. Basically, anybody off that Denver defense would be fantastic. So, yeah. But the priority one, Anzalone, and then, if you add a JFM and an Onwuzurike and a bunch of dudes, that's also fine with me. Is it possible Downs could be picked at 2? Well, if we're super successful in free agency and the one place where we were unsuccessful, for example, was safety. Let's say we signed Dobbs, we got the quarterback. We signed Dobbs and we signed a bunch of D linemen and linebackers and we're all set there. Yeah. Why not? Now, people would make fun of the positional value, but still, this kid is phenomenal. And a great safety makes your defense really good. Now, there's other safeties you can get in round 2. Basically, McNeil Warren, Thieneman, and Halsey. Those are 3. And so the question is going to be, how much more highly rated do you have Downs than those 3? If it's a huge jump and you have a huge need and this guy is rated in, if you're using a 9-point scale, like 8.7 or 8 point, he's just phenomenal, then why not? But the answer is it depends. Tate at 2 is my wish. Yeah, I could see Tater's going at 2, especially if we fix the defense in free agency. And we get the quarterback, obviously. And then you go, well, we really want a wide receiver, but we'd really like him at 16. Well, Taters and the big 3 are probably not lasting to 16. So if you want him, you got to take him at 2, and I wouldn't mind it. BBA, how much are you giving Anzalone? Yeah, he's a little old, but his play is phenomenal, and we need him. Whatever it takes to get him. He's priority free agent number 1. More for his ability to function and also communicate in the Glenn defense which is important. And we've been missing this thing since C.J. Mosley got hurt. We tried to give it to Sherwood. It didn't work. We tried to make Sherwood into the next Mosley. It didn't work. So by getting Anzalone, you're improving Sherwood. One, give him a more natural role that he needs. And then I think also just improving the overall defense with communication and everything he can do. Now, is it going to be an overpay for Anzalone? Yeah. A lot of the stuff we do is going to be overpays. And I don't give a shit. You get the players you need. We have to straighten this fucking thing out. You gave him $3 million more than you should. I don't care. We got plenty of money. There's no cap problems. And we're going to identify our number 1, 2, and 3, and 4 priority free agents. We're going to go after lots of other guys, but we're going to prioritize our guys, and quarterback is 1, then Anzalone is 2, in my opinion. Just my opinion. And then wide receivers 3, Romeo Doubs and Wan'Dale Robinson are the 2 guys I would like to get one of them. And if it's an overpay, it's an overpay. Yeah, he's aging out, but that's the reason that you're getting him, and you're hoping to get 2 good years out of him. So maybe you give him a 3-year deal, understanding that 3rd year, yeah, he's going to fall off. But so what? We got to get this thing straightened out, and Anzalone is the perfect guy to help with that. So, yeah, Lombardi landed. He did land somewhere, yes. I forget where. Yeah, well, I'm signing the 32-year-old. I'm signing the perfect guy for our defense, Jet. Sorry. Yeah, this is why, 100%. Is it me, or did Aaron Glenn put together a decent offensive staff even after watching other teams get their guys? Well, so far, yeah, he has. Reich was a huge signing. That was a massive, massive signing. He's at least a stabilizing force where any quarterbacks you're talking to are going to respect. Like some of them would have respected Tanner Engstrand, but some of them would have had questions like, I don't know, he's kind of inexperienced. With Reich, anybody you're talking to, they're going to be like, all right, yeah, I can work with Frank Reich. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's very respected. They're going to talk. They're going to chat around. Anybody they ask who's worked with him is going to say, yeah, he's phenomenal to work with. Super smart, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a huge, huge signing. And so far, the rest of the offensive staff has worked out good. And so far, the defensive hires have been good, too. If you think about it, we hired Aaron Glenn as a defensive coordinator, if you think about it, right? And it didn't cost us any extra money. I mean, whatever we're playing Duker's like probably getting $1 million, which isn't much for a DC, but he's a DC without play calling. So, we basically hired Aaron Glenn to be the DC. That's pretty good. And then we hired Carl Dunbar, one of the best defensive line coaches in football, back on our staff. All right. Excellent. Now we got to get a linebacker coach, but the line coaches are very important. People don't really realize it, but the offensive line coach, and to a lesser extent defensive line coach, but the offensive line coach is much more important than the quarterback coach. Much more important. The offensive line coach is the most important coach on the staff other than the coordinators. O-line coach, and apparently we got a good one with Hayden. So that's good news, at least so far. Hopefully he continues to be good. So yeah, the process was weird and seemingly dysfunctional, but so far it's turning out pretty okay. Hopefully it continues. And then it's going to be about the players, man. It's all about the players. I mean, and then, you need the right coaches to get the most out of them, but you got to have the right players. No coach can coach up a bum to be good. It's just not possible. All right, so no late breaking news. I guess that'll do it for Super Bowl Sunday. So I guess the best news about today is the Super Bowl will be over, And then no more games, and then all the staffs will start to get filled out. Clint Kubiak apparently will be going to the Raiders. We'll start learning about what's going to happen. A lot of these reporters and people are going to take a week or two off, so it's going to be kind of a light week for a week or two after today, to be honest with you. And then the Combine. As soon as the Combine comes around, the season starts up again all the way through April. Then there's some breaks after that. Let me just see, when does the NFL Combine start? Now, the Combine's important for a lot of reasons, but it's because the teams are all going to be down there. Oh, you can buy VIP ticket packages. I should buy some ticket. We should go down there, right? On Location Hospital. We can buy VIP ticket packages to Indianapolis 2026. Why doesn't it tell me when it is? Oh, here it is. February 26th. Oh, wow. So it's basically 3 weeks from today. So it's going to be 3 weeks of light news, really. It's going to be rough. But once that happens, all the teams will have their coaching staffs in place. They'll be, we'll start hearing rumors. We'll start hearing who likes who wants to go back with this guy, this guy doesn't like that guy enough, So we'll see how it all works out. In the meantime, click the like button, the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're trying to get up to 2,000 subscribers. We're a long way from that, but we'd appreciate your help with that. And if you want exclusive items, things that nobody else gets, beautiful things from the mind of old Frankie, you join the Inner Circle, $2 a month, and you get it by clicking the join button down below. All right, see you guys